Gangstas, what's going on? Is it weird that I missed y'all? Is that weird? Is it weird? I don't know, but I kind of did. I am happy to be back, guys. Happy Wednesday to you. What a Dynamite tonight. I thought this was great. Dynamite 250 was a very solid show with an amazing 1-hour match to open tonight's episode, which we will get into. But I am back now for the first time in about 10 or 11 days total since the last time I was here for a live video. So I felt like I needed to come up here since I was free tonight. Now, there's a ton of wrestling news that I have to catch up on and that we're going to get into this weekend. I am not ready to discuss any of that yet because I'm not prepared, but I wanted to at least peek my head into YouTube tonight since I had the opportunity to at least maybe review this show. So we're going to kind of just confine today's episode or tonight's episode into this Dynamite review. We might talk a little bit about last week's Dynamite, and if there's anything else going on that you want me to touch on or mention, please let me know in the chat. But in terms of the wrestling news, what's going on WWE side of things, SummerSlam, the new Janelle Grant news, free agent stuff, NXT, all that crap that's kind of going around right now, I will be prepared for that and ready to discuss it this weekend. But tonight, it's pretty casual. All we're really going to be doing is talking about Dynamite because I have been out of the loop for the past week in pro wrestling. I've caught some of the results. I've seen snippets here or there, but I am kind of in catch-up mode now that I am back. So we're going to have a kind of a casual one tonight. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. This was a really fun episode, like I said, and I'm looking forward to discussing it and getting back into the YouTube swing of things. Really did not think I was going to be here tonight, but as the day was going on, I was resting. I wasn't feeling overly tired. I thought that I could squeeze out a review. So let's do it. Good to see you guys. All these names. I've missed you. I've missed you. I've missed you. Let's do some shout outs and say hello. I prepared this kind of on the fly, so let me make sure. All right, I can be seen, I can be heard. I'm somewhat straight. I got a suntan right now. I'm a mess. So welcome back, guys. It's great to see you. Let me just get centered here and ready. Okay, I think I feel good about how I'm sitting and how I'm looking. All right, yeah, we good. We good. I'm going to say hello to everybody right now, like JJ Leg and How Wheezy, early channel members here to say hi. Gilbert Arbalo, welcome. Rodrigo, J Lambo, Ricky Zalvadar, and K-Dogs Kennel, my boy of almost 2 years of a channel member now. Welcome back, brother. Hope you had a great one. Wife and I went on vacay this past weekend, and we won an award. I'll send a pic on Twitter. Please do. I'm wondering what that award was. Frank Savette, where did you go? Well, Frank, to be honest, I had to do a little time in prison. I was swiping Amazon packages from the doorsteps of old ladies, and I finally got caught, so they sent me away for, I had to do 10 days in the clink, so that's where I was. It wasn't fun, but the food was good, and that's a plus. But I'm happy to be back here now. Mike Rouse of Wrestling, 07 of Wrestling. Good to see you. Hashway, welcome. Brandon McNeil, The Juliet, Michael Johan, Damian Drain, Daniel Clark, Denny Downbad, Dan Price, and George Morris chiming in with $5. Thanks, dude. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? And how is Tito? Cobra Kai Season 6, why 3 parts? The last season, how much for a condo in Los Angeles? How was Hawaii? I forgot. Cobra Kai is like about to start, unless it already did. I'm kind of out of the loop on that. I know it's like this week or something, so it is weird why it's 3 parts, but they're just trying to stretch out the conclusion. I don't have much of a problem with that, but it does mean we have to wait, so that sucks. How much is a condo in LA? Not really any less expensive than it is right here in San Diego. A 1-bedroom condo or apartment will run you no less than $2,000 at the very cheapest, and it's probably going to be way more than that. And how was Hawaii? Well, George, let the cat out of the bag. I was not in jail for swiping Amazon packages off the doorsteps of old ladies. I was actually in Hawaii on vacation with my family, and it was a blast, and it was wild, and it's one of the busiest vacations I've had in terms of just constantly doing things, even though I was getting in a lot of relaxing too, and I got some sun. It was a blast. I'm in Hawaii every 2 years. I love it. I'm going to go there every 2 years for the rest of my life, and love it. Love it out there in the middle of the Pacific. It's a blast. And it was fun, but I was ready to get back. The traveling, getting back was brutal. We took a red eye last night, got home, walked in my house this morning at about 7:30 a.m., which is very early. So my sleep has been jacked. I napped a little bit on the couch, but I have not really slept since I've been up since 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. yesterday. What the fuck day is today? Wednesday? So I've been up since 8 a.m. Tuesday. And then had a whole day, then took a red eye out, got back this morning, 2 hours of rest on the couch is pretty much all I've got. So I'm kind of on fumes, but I wanted to be here. I wanted to be here to discuss this show because I had a feeling with AEW giving us Will Ospreay and MJF on free TV for Dynamite's 250th episode that tonight would be worth discussing. And that wasn't the only kind of intriguing match on tonight's episode. We had the main event, Okada versus Swerve Strickland, and we had Mercedes Moné and Nyla Rose on this episode as well, including some Mariah May stuff, some Learning Tree stuff. So overall, it was a good episode, even though half of it was taken up by one match. And I wanted to at least get up here, even though I'm tired, and just start talking about stuff because I'm so backed up. I'm so overdue on kind of discussing wrestling news and whatnot. This is going to be me kind of easing my way, wading my way into the YouTube waters before I'm fully in the deep end again here in just a couple of days. So we'll have a busy weekend this weekend as usual on the channel, I think, although I'm not going to schedule a watch along for Sunday until I go to work tomorrow because I got a busy weekend coming up, one of the busiest of the year, and I'm jumping right back into it. And I'm not sure what to expect yet. So tomorrow I'll get a lay of the land. I'll observe, or I'll take a look at what we have going on for the weekend and make sure I'm cool to do a watch along on Sunday. And we probably will watch a SummerSlam. There's also a slight chance, depending on what I learn tomorrow while I'm at work, that I might bump Saturday's Winged Eagle to Sunday instead to give us more time. It just depends on what it's looking like this weekend. I just got home, so I'm not really sure yet. So please stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you are subscribed and follow me on all the socials so you can find these announcements whenever I post them. But you will be getting me Saturday and either one or the other or both. Not quite sure yet. I'll have that answer for you tomorrow. But tonight is Dynamite time, and we're going to talk about this evening's show that I thought was pretty good. Probably won't be here a whole lot of time tonight because I don't think we're going to have a huge audience. I'm never up here on Wednesdays anymore because I'm usually working on Wednesdays. So there's a lot of people that probably weren't expecting me in front of the camera tonight. So we'll see how we do. So what you can do for me to help me out with tonight's probably low audience is give this video a like and, subscribe, that type of shit. You guys know what to do. And I appreciate it. So without further ado, we'll get into tonight's results. And I do want to talk about a little bit of what we missed on the AEW side of things last week. Now, I was on day one of my vacation last Wednesday when we had the finals of the men and women's Owen Hart Cup tournament final. I thought what we saw in the closing of Dynamite was maybe the best closing angle or closing segment in Dynamite history. It wasn't even like super jaw-dropping shocking because there has been a breadcrumb trail of evidence leading to what Mariah May has got planned for Toni Storm, but the way it was executed last week was amazing. It was Mariah May and Willow Nightingale in the main event of Dynamite. That should have been a key and a clue right there that something was going to go down because Hangman and Danielson, you would think, would normally be the main event in these circumstances, but I think they might have opened the show with the men's match. And then closing with the women kind of told you that there was going to be some big angle at the end. And shout out to Willow Nightingale, who has already won over my heart, but she solidified that with her gear last week with the danger gear and all that. So great. And the match was surprising, I guess not surprisingly, but really, really good. I enjoyed the match as well, not just the closing match angle. But we did see Mariah May defeat Willow. I think she won with like a victory roll type of counter thing, pinning Willow to win the Owen Hart tournament. Toni Storm comes out to celebrate her. By the way, Mariah looked great in her pink gear last week. Toni Storm celebrates. They walk kind of arm in arm up to the stage where the belt is and the presentation for the, the trophy or the belt or whatever. And as soon as Mariah May grabs the belt off the podium, she just blasts Toni Storm right in the face with it, takes her out, crowd craps themselves. She even beats up Luther, tosses him off the stage through a table. And then I think what really made the angle last week was just that shot of her with the shoe, hammering Toni Storm's face with that shoe the whole year. Chin up, tits out, watch for the shoe. You better watch for the shoe, girl, because the shoe got you. Several times upside the head, busted her wide open. Violent, brutal ending to Dynamite last week with, two of the top stars in the women's division there, and I loved it. I love it when women bleed in wrestling. It's awesome. So I thought it was great. It was very well executed. It was drama. It was cinema. It was all that stuff that wrestling fans are saying these days, right? And I can't say enough good things about that closing angle of Dynamite last week. I was blown away. I wish I could have been watching that live. I was spoiled by it because I was already, in Hawaii. I was 15 beers in or whatever it was. And I'm looking at my phone and I'm seeing that. I'm like, that's tremendous. So I was able to check out the full match and watch it and see the ending, for myself. But I really wish I would have been able to see that unfold as it happened, because it was probably a much better experience for the live audience or those of you watching live at home last week. So that was great. Mariah May, Toni Storm now is set for All In, and All In is looking like a pretty good card. Remember last year, we were getting dangerously close to the pay-per-view with all these fans in attendance, and they hadn't announced shit. They were really dragging their feet with getting matches announced for that show. And we were like, it left us scratching our heads a little bit. I'm like, this is a huge show for you guys. What the fuck is taking so long? Am I misremembering that? Or was last year kind of slow getting these matches booked? This year, it seems like it's way more together. Like Tony Khan has got ideas in mind, and he's had those ideas for a while in terms of what he wants to do at All In. And I think this year's show, my prediction anyway, is that this year's show will have a far lower attendance, but will be overall a much better show than last year's show. And last year's show was not bad. All In last year was a lot of fun. But I think this year's show, in terms of the matches we get, the stories, the in-ring stuff, will be better. But I don't think they're going to come anywhere near that 80,000 attendance figure that they hit last year. I think it's probably going to be somewhere around 50. But I think the show overall is going to be better. And I'm excited for All In with what they're setting up here. Now, on the men's side of the tournament last week, we had Hangman Page versus Danielson in the main event. In the tournament finals. I had kind of loosely predicted that Hangman Page would win and then go beat Swerve for the title at All In with help from the Elite and all of that. But Danielson won the match instead, and I liked that they added a twist. We got kind of a little twist in both of these matches, but the men's match, the twist came in the match when we had a ref bump near the end of that, and that's when Jeff Jarrett, a lot of fans were wondering, why would they put Jeff Jarrett in the tournament if he just lost in the opening round? He had that emotional video package, and a lot of fans were like confused by that. I wasn't. Owen and Jeff are friends. Close friends, former tag team championship partners together. It wasn't weird to me that Jarrett was in it. It would have been weird if Jarrett won it, to be honest, with the talent pool that AEW currently has and that is in that tournament. It would have made sense to me to have Jeff Jarrett win just to give him the feel-good story, but they worked him in anyway. He came out after the ref bump. Hangman Page shoved him down. Jarrett takes off his shirt to reveal the zebra stripes, and he's going to ref this thing, and he counted the 3 when Danielson, got some little roll-up job on Hangman there, and Danielson wound up winning the Owen Hart tournament, which means he will be facing Swerve Strickland at All In, not Hangman Page. So that's great. I think All In is looking pretty damn solid in a Swerve and Danielson world title match. That's going to be a big victory and big successful title defense for Swerve if he wins there, and I kind of think he will. And I think maybe Hangman, we might see him versus Swerve at All Out, which could possibly happen. And we got some, we had a Hangman sighting tonight because next week on Dynamite is Blood and Guts. But tonight was AEW Dynamite 250. Whoa, we got a low audience in here. Let me refresh that. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button for me so I don't look like a J-Brone in here. My God. But tonight's Dynamite was really, really great. Shell Shock says, the more I see from Ospreay, the more I become a fanboy of his. Yeah, I've been on Team Ospreay for maybe a year, maybe 2 now. I've always liked him. I've always thought he was an amazing talent, but he's really, in the last couple of years, been feeling more of like a main eventer. He's filled out. He's gained some size. He's tremendous on the microphone, despite that little flub up he had last week. He's got charisma, and he has a presence to him that makes me want to see him. When his music plays and he comes out, I'm like, yes, Ospreay's here. That's great, because regardless of whether he's wrestling or cutting a promo, I kind of enjoy both equally well. And that is a big strength to have as a performer, for the fans to enjoy you the same level, regardless of whether or not you're in the ring or if you're on the mic. Austin was a lot like that, you know? I guess arguably Austin was better on the mic. But with Ospreay, he's the real deal. And this match with MJF on Dynamite's 250th episode, giving away a match like that for free is great. It's not a bad thing. The fans complaining, why would they give this match away for free? Well, there's like 100 reasons. I don't know why you have to ask this. It's not rocket science to figure out. They're in a contract year. They're in the middle of TV rights negotiations right now. Putting on big matches, in theory, should help the ratings a little bit and help maybe drive these negotiations. Plus, it's not like they haven't done this before. Dynamite's been in existence now for about 5 years, and we've had a lot of major things go down on television. Huge championship matches. We've had big championship matches on Rampage. We've had one of the biggest returns of all time take place on Rampage, not on pay-per-view. And you got to remember, they don't have PLEs on a fucking Peacock. They have pay-per-views that fans are slapping down $50 a pop for. So if we can occasionally get pay-per-view quality matches on TV, which in AEW isn't really even occasional, it's frequent, then why in the blue fucking hell would you complain about that? And I think a lot of fans questioning why they would give this match away with little or no build don't like AEW. So why the fuck would you care what they're building or not building? I think you're just looking to hate on shit is all you're doing. And also, second of all, one thing that became clear as that match was going on tonight, that maybe this match is part of the build. You think this is going to be the last time MJF and Will Ospreay face each other in the ring? No, especially after we saw that finish that we got tonight. And the show opened with that. So they opened up with MJF versus Will Ospreay. And it had a 1 hour time limit. So when Justin Roberts said that, I did think about it. Well, we could get a Broadway out of this, but I wasn't set on it. But once the match got going and you saw it approach the half-hour mark and go beyond, I think it was like 33 minutes past the hour. I'm like, okay, they're going to do... I was actually hoping they wouldn't do a time limit draw because I feel like that's really predictable. A lot of times when you have a 1 hour draw, you can see it coming. You know, WWE telegraphs the fuck out of it because they never announce time limits. And so if they randomly announce one time, you know, like, oh, okay. AEW is a little more subtle about it, but you can always tell when you're going to get a finish like that. And I put on Twitter about 38 minutes into the match, 40 minutes into the match, whatever it was, I said, it's looking like we're going to get a draw here, and that's totally fine, but I would really like a refreshing change of pace and maybe see a finish with like 2 minutes left. You know, try to think, those of you who can maybe have better memories than me, are there matches that had 1 hour time limits that ended between the 50 and 60 minute mark? I can't think of any. You know, if you have an hour time limit match that's past 40 minutes, it's almost a guarantee that it's going to be a draw. So I was hoping we would get some sort of a little, you know, swerve or something like that, and we got it. And I'm really happy that we did, but I'm not going to jump right into the finish because this match was filled with crazy shit, man. I mean, I couldn't write down all of it, but in terms of the action that we saw, overall, I think the match definitely will go down as one of the best in AEW history for sure. Is it the best? I don't know. You guys can judge that. I'm not the right person to ask. But in terms of great matches that we've gotten on Dynamite, I mean, how many matches would you put above this one? There might be a couple, but it's not going to be a lot. That's for damn sure. And plus, I think this is really the first time these guys have worked together, and to work at this level, you know, really shows how great both men are. So my undying appreciation for the effort tonight from MJF and Will Ospreay. They killed it out there in Little Rock, Arkansas. They worked the Ospreay shoulder injury early in the match. That kind of happened pretty early on. So he was already, you know, at a disadvantage with that. Doc came in the ring, popped it back into place. So he was selling the shoulder all match long. They didn't just wrestle in the ring, they brawled into the crowd. They're going up the stairs, and like Ospreay is like hammering blows on MJF, and a little girl comes up and starts punching him, which I thought was great. And then a little bit later on, they're down near the floor area, and Will Ospreay sticks MJF headfirst into a trash can, which I also liked. We had a very, very sick Styles Clash to MJF on the apron at about the 40-minute mark. So these guys are already killing themselves for over a half an hour. They're going 40 minutes in, and we get an apron styles clash 40 minutes in. Oh no, but that wasn't all. Because after that, a few minutes later, about the 45-minute mark, we had a second rope styles clash to MJF for a near fall. The only thing that saved him was the ropes. Now, Max at one point was also on the outside of the ring, kind of talking to the camera, and Ospreay slid out with a sick-ass hidden blade, which was awesome. That should have put him right out. After the second rope styles clash, MJF gets Will Ospreay in the that heat sinker DDT. He didn't hit all of it, but it was enough to knock Ospreay out of the ring. And MJF laid him up on a table that they had set up earlier in the match, and then MJF climbed to the top rope. We're about 50 minutes in at this point. Keep this in mind. 50 minutes in, almost an hour at this point, and MJF is climbing to the top rope and delivering a top rope elbow drop to the floor through the table to Will Ospreay, and I think they took their second or third commercial break at this point. So we get down to the final minute. They even announced 1 minute left, and I don't think this was... I think they kind of had to kayfabe this, which is fine to get that finish to look right, because it felt like way more than a minute passed by the time they did the finish after they announced 1 minute left. But at the 1 minute mark, Ospreay has got MJF in position for the Stormbreaker, but he can't do it. He's just too injured, his shoulder. He's unable to lift him up. And that's when the referee goes down. Referee takes a bump. I can't remember if it was MJF or Ospreay that accidentally hit the ref. He goes down. And at this point, it feels like the minute was up. But MJF goes into his pocket or to the outside of the ring, wherever it was. He puts on the Dynamite Diamond ring, nails Will Ospreay in the face with it, lands on top of him as the referee now comes to count 1, 2. And at the same time, they're flashing the timer on the screen. So with like 3 seconds left, the referee just goes 1, 2, 3. MJF wins the match, and I think it showed 2 remaining seconds left in the time limit. So he won the international title, beating Will Ospreay, hitting him with the Dynamite Diamond ring to the face at the 59-minute and 58-second mark. That's great. That's exactly what I was hoping to see. Now, MJF is a champion again. Will Ospreay has lost his title to MJF, but I like the way they set up the finish. Now, I didn't check social media. Let me know what you guys thought of that. I don't know if people are shitting on this finish or if it wasn't for them or, oh, it was kind of cheesy or whatever. I didn't think it was. I thought it was fucking great. And the added extra little bonus of MJF celebrating with the oxygen mask, that cracked me up. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, there's my thumbnail right there, because that is hysterically funny. And celebrating, it was so great. And now it sets up them to do it again. These two guys are just getting started with each other. This could be the beginning of a storied rivalry that they revisit time and time again for the next 5 years, for all we know. I was super impressed with these guys working together at this level for an hour for the first time. That's tremendous. Testament to both men's professionalism and their ability to, adapt and just work their asses off, no less. And the match stayed intense and hard-hitting throughout the whole thing. I mean, they're hitting top rope elbow dives through tables at the 50-minute mark, man. You compare some of these matches to Brett and Shawn at WrestleMania 12, and I'm telling you, man, these guys today, these kids today, they know what they're doing. So I enjoyed the finish. I like the way that it switches the belt, takes the belt off Will Ospreay, beats him, but protects him at the same time. I mean, he lost with 2 seconds left, got hit in the face with a foreign object. So you got plenty of room here to set up a rematch, which could be at All In, which is what I thought we were going to get all along. It looked like they were setting up Will Ospreay and MJF at All In, and we're probably going to get that now. How is Will Ospreay not going to get a rematch after a finish like that? So a lot of those fans, well, I wouldn't call them fans, because anybody really complaining about a great match like this on free TV isn't a fan of AEW. They're just a hater. They're just an asshole. That's all they are, just looking to hate on shit. But those fans that said, why are they giving this away for free? Well, there's your answer, dickhead, to set up the All-In match. We just got a Broadway here, or a near Broadway, with MJF picking up the title. Now at All-In, fuck, you could add a stip. You could do something else. I mean, since we did have a referee bump and a foreign object involved in the finish, then tie that in somehow. No DQ match, special referee or something, whatever. maybe there's some UK legend they could have be the referee for this thing, since it was the weakness of the referee that caused Will Ospreay to lose. Maybe Will Ospreay handpicks some soccer player or something, I don't know, to be the referee in the match, or add some sort of a stip. But I think unless my wrestling radar is just a little fuzzy due to my vacation, it feels like Will Ospreay and MJF is still happening at All In. We just got a 1 hour early big taste of it tonight. And there's no downside in that. There's no negative to that whatsoever. We got a great match, one of the best ever in Dynamite history. And guess what? We're going to get another one, and it's going to be on pay-per-view, and you are going to have to pay for that one. So explain to me how any of this is bad. I thought it was great. Great match. I loved that MJF picked up the belt there, and is the biggest Will Ospreay fan in the world. He's my number one guy right now. I didn't mind seeing him lose. I was fine with that. Will Ospreay's going to be world champion soon, within the next 9 months, I would hope. So I'm not too concerned about the international title switching hands. Goes to MJF now. And we'll see. Maybe Ospreay wins it back at All In. He very well might. And that would be a pretty funny contrast with MJF having a year-long world title run, and then a month-long international title run would be pretty interesting. But I kind of I smell a rematch at All In between these two guys, and I ain't got no problem with that. So I really enjoyed MJF and Will Ospreay tonight. So after that great match that takes up half of the show, it's now past the top of the second hour there, and we have to endure the learning tree. So this ass bag and his ass bag friends are out there. Jericho, hi guys. Oh, fuck you. So he's out there, and he said that, I guess he had to miss a Dynamite. I don't know if it was last week. No, it wasn't last week, because he was brawling with Samoa Joe. He was talking about missing some show, and he goes, oh, the cards and letters are coming in, and, so I've decided that I'm never going to miss another Dynamite again. He's guaranteeing that he's going to be on every show in our faces. Yes, Jericho, I get your character. I know exactly what you're doing. It just ain't for me, man. But then we get Minoru Suzuki coming out. Now, Jericho had tried to recruit Suzuki for something, I think prior to Forbidden Door, and he said, no, I'd rather face you one-on-one instead. He comes out with a piece of paper, and it's going to be Jericho versus Minoru Suzuki next week on Dynamite for the FTW title, and Brian Keith winds up reading what is written on the paper, and it says that the Redwood and the Bad Apple, is that their nicknames for Keith and Cass, or Keith and Bill? They're going to be banned from ringside next week, and Jericho is going to have to go at it alone against Minoru Suzuki. And as much as I like Suzuki, that match will not be what Will Ospreay and MJF was. Let's just put it that way. We then cut backstage to the Elite. It's just the Bucks and Okada. They are there. They are hinting at Hangman Page rejoining the Elite to join them for Blood and Guts. I don't know if that was solidified last week or if they're still just hinting at that, and then it was solidified later on tonight in the main event. Like I said, I'm a little bit out of the loop with what AEW has done in the past week or so, but it looks like Hangman will be back with the group here pretty soon. Mercedes Moné then shows up, and she thanks the Bucks for banning Britt Baker from backstage. That way she can't get in her face or whatever, and this was the best. That's when the Bucks are like, oh yeah, no problem, don't mention it. And Okada was like, hey, have her do the dance. And they're like, Okada wants you to do the dance. So she does a little Mone dance or whatever. And she walks away, and Okada is like, his belt is falling off his shoulder, and he's like weak in the knees, and it's very hot in here. I loved that. Let's put it this way. Kazuchika Okada handled that situation a lot better than Sammy Guevara would have. That's for sure. So that was a fun little interaction backstage, and I've liked that the Bucks are kind of buddying up to Mercedes Moné. I like that. I like that they get along. That's fun for me as a fan of heel wrestlers. And the Bucks, I think, are doing a good job, because I really don't love them. Matt and Nick, little sniveling pricks, but I think that's kind of their gimmick. So if I don't like them, that means it's working. And Okada is the exact opposite. I smile from ear to ear whenever I see him, because a lot like Will Ospreay, just how much I enjoy seeing him in the ring, wrestling, or on the mic. This goofy Okada character, I don't know why I love it. I just do. He's got something that just makes me laugh. Just sometimes his face, he's not even doing anything. Sometimes he's just staring off into space as fucking Matt's flapping his lips, and it's hilarious. I can't describe this Okada phenomenon, but I think it all started with me with the sing it. Sing it. After that, my heart has belonged to him. So Okada got the dance. He's happy. He needs to cool down. Hopefully he recovers before the main event. But Mercedes Moné also has a match tonight. I believe it's an open challenge or something. She's taking on Nyla Rose. I was looking forward to this match, and I think the only thing that hurt this match is what it had to follow. Because when I saw it advertised today, I'm like, ooh, I'm almost looking forward to that more than any other match. Mercedes and Nyla. This is a new match. And to see these two women face for the first time, cool. I'm all about firsts. But I think if they would have put that match next week, maybe it would have, came off better on TV. This match wasn't bad or anything. It was just, I was still catching my breath from Ospreay and MJF. They just took us on a fucking ride, gave us one of the best matches on TV we've ever seen. So no matter who went out there, they were in a shit situation there. Now Jericho had the Learning to segment. We went backstage to the Bucks and stuff first, so there was a little bit of a gap there before we got that match. But still, you still got to follow that, and that's pretty tough. The match was not bad, but I think in my head, looking at the match today, it didn't live up to my personal expectations, I guess. Because at first I was like, "Oh, sweet, I can't wait to see that." And then when I saw it, I'm like, "It wasn't bad," but I guess it didn't really knock my socks off either. Mercedes did beat Nyla with the, I guess they're calling it the statement maker now. It can't be the bank statement. It's the statement maker. And you knew that is one thing that AEW sometimes will do as bad as WWE. They will telegraph things. And from the minute that Mercedes told the Bucks, thank you for banning Britt from backstage. And I'm like, okay, she's going to show up later. And she did. And they would do the same thing in the next segment with Jack Perry, when he kind of challenged Darby to come out and find him. And I'm like, well, that kind of gave away the finish to the main event, but I'll get into that in a minute. After Mercedes beats Nyla, she's leaving, she's celebrating, walking around the ringside area, and she comes face to face with a fan in a Sting mask. Come on, of course. The mask is off. It's Britt. She hops the barricade. They start fighting. She chases off Mercedes. And that feud is intriguing to me. It's another first. Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker, one of the best in WWE, and one of the pillars, I guess, of the women's division in AEW. When Mercedes was rumored to come in, a year ago when she was spotted at All In the crowd, that was the first match that hit my mind. It was like, oh, Mercedes and Britt would be kind of fun. It took us a year to get there, but now that we're here, I'm really hoping that this feud is good, because on the other side, we have Mariah May and Toni Storm. And these two programs are both women's programs in AEW. Women's wrestling has been a weak spot of the company, or it was for the first couple of years there. And I'm pretty invested in both of these. Maybe more with Mariah and Toni than I am with Mercedes and Britt. But I think on paper, these four women feuding, in the respective feuds is the strongest, really, kind of the women's division has felt in AEW in quite a while. And I think it would be cool if like Mercedes and Britt and Toni and Mariah kind of like had a backstage competition over who could have the better feud, because guess who wins in that situation? Us. And that's what I hope happens there. So Mercedes and Britt, they're heading for a collision course at All In as well. And All In, like I said, is looking pretty good. Now here's the segment I had a problem with. So last week, I guess, Darby Allin attacked and beat the shit out of Brandon Cutler, who's been a long-time known lackey of the Young Bucks and whatnot, with the mask and the spray and all that stuff. So Darby, I guess, beats the crap out of him to, I guess, get to the Elite or to get to Jack Perry. I didn't see last week, other than the Owen finals. I didn't see anything else from last week's Dynamite. So if I'm explaining anything improperly here, just call me a dickhead in the chat. But tonight, Jack Perry is doing a backstage promo, and he says, do you think that bothered me, you attacking Brandon Cutler? And he says, I don't give a shit about Brandon Cutler. And he reveals that he himself is also beating the shit out of Brandon Cutler, and he's laying down, beaten up, and he picks him up and throws him through the doors and, beats him up some more just to, prove a point that Darby, if you thought you got to me by beating this guy up, you didn't, because I don't give a shit about him. But then he says something that, based on how much time we had left in the show, I think really spoiled the ending. He says, he basically challenged Darby. If you want a piece of me, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something like, if you want a piece of me, why don't you come find me later, or I'll be in the ring later. I don't even know if he said I'll be in the ring later, but he hinted that the two of them will be seeing each other before the episode is over. So there's only 20 minutes left in the episode by this point. So I'm like, okay, they're going to have to come face to face in the main event. And then when you also combine that with what next week's main event is, or what next week's theme is of Blood and Guts, it's Team Elite versus Team AEW. We're probably going to get a big match post or closing show brawl to set that up for next week is the first thing that told me. I'm like, well, Jack will be out there in the Swerve and Okada match because the Bucks will be. And if Jack's out there, Darby will show up, and that's probably when we'll get the full 5-on-5. Is it 5-on-5? Teams set. Now, was it earlier? Did I miss that? Or have I not has it not happened yet? Earlier on in the show, did I not write this down? Earlier on in the show, oh yeah, it was right after the opening match. So after MJF and Ospreay, Swerve backstage recruited the acclaimed to join them for Blood and Guts. So now it's Swerve and Mark Briscoe and the Acclaimed against the Elite. Now they're still missing one guy. So that's when it all started coming together here, that you knew what they were going to do after that Jack Perry beatdown of Brandon Cutler. So that would all be paid off later. But then after that, we had Mariah May, who we knew we were going to hear from tonight. We're going to get, I guess, her explanation as to why she did what she did to Toni Storm last week. But Toni Storm's music starts playing. And again, it's one of those things, even though I very much enjoyed this, when that first note of Toni Storm's theme hit, I said, it's Mariah May. It's Mariah May dressed as her. I don't even have to see her come out to know that's what they're doing here. And of course it was. But man, do they look alike when they are in full makeup. When she turned around, because I'm like, oh, that's Mariah May. And then when she turned around and looked at the camera, I'm like, oh, wait, maybe it is Toni Storm. And then I was like, oh, no, that's Mariah May. There's certain things that give that away. But at first I wasn't sure because of the black and white, the makeup and all that. And she came out with Toni Storm's music and her mannerisms and her outfit. They even did the whole full black and white job. She gets in the ring and talks about how she strung her along. Everybody saw this coming except for you. And said something to the effect of, why would I, did she say call her a cow or something? She said, like, why would I shoot the cow when I can slaughter you in front of the biggest audience possible or something like that. So basically the reason she waited and strung along Toni Storm as long as she did is because she saw All In on the calendar and saw that as her opportunity to destroy her in front of as many people as possible. And it works. I mean, it really fits. This is really fun stuff. I mean, it's going to be tough to top how they closed last week's Dynamite with these two ladies, but I got faith in them, man. This Mariah May, she's great. And I've always said that Toni Storm, once they signed her, and I love Britt Baker and Mercedes is great, but once Toni Storm came in, I said she is the best pound for pound women's wrestler they have in terms of look, ring ability, charisma, microphone skills, that type of stuff. I think she's the overall best package they have in a female performer there. That's just my opinion. You can have your own opinion who's the best over there, but I always thought that Toni Storm, once they signed, this is before she started doing the timeless stuff. When she first came in, I said they need to make her their Charlotte because I think she's the best in the ring. She's the one with, she's got big time experience in WWE and she's got international experience. She's very good in the ring. And even before the timeless Toni stuff, the girl could still talk. And just she's found this gimmick that's fit her as well as The Undertaker fit Mark Calloway, and it just works. So I'm loving what I'm seeing between these two. I can't wait to see the match at All In and how that goes down, if Mariah May actually wins the championship or if Toni Storm is able to avenge, what happened to her. But I also think Toni Storm is going to get her hands on Mariah May way before All In, and something will probably go down between these two women next week once, and I'm glad that Toni Storm was off this week to sell the beatdown from last week, because it would have been pretty silly for her to be there. Although maybe not. If that would have happened to Moxley, he would have been out in the middle of the ring cutting a promo with a huge bandage on his head. But with Toni Storm, I think she needed a week off to sell that, allow Mariah May to explain herself, get her heel persona going. Or what the hell was that? Was that a double turn? Or is Toni Storm babyface? I think she is. Anyway, I don't know, but I liked it, and the match is going to be interesting, and I like this way better. Like what they did last week, I enjoyed so much more than if they would have had Mariah May win the Owen and then the two have like a spirited, friendly competition. No, fuck that. And to where maybe that is what drives the wedge. No, Mariah May just drove that wedge herself. The wedge of that fucking high heel shoe into the dome of Toni Storm. Great stuff. And Mariah May dressed as Toni Storm tonight, I thought was great. Can't wait to see what happens next week. Here's something I need help on. I have no idea why the Bang Bang Gang was stripped of their titles. They showed a little recap of Collision on Saturday. Something went on in the ring. I know Bang Bang Gang had a match. They won, and then Daniels had to instruct them that they're stripped of the titles due to some injury, but I'm not sure what this is about. And of course, they have 27 championship belts between those three guys. So they're walking around with all these titles, and they showed Christopher Daniels, taking and stripping them of the championships. And I think they're going to have a match with the Patriarchy to determine the vacant trios titles. Was this their way, perhaps? That's probably what they're doing. Maybe they did this stripping thing to get rid of those other belts because they just need the one set of trios. Fans already have a stick up their ass about all these championships in AEW as it is, and you got 6 extra belts there that you just don't need. So get rid of them. Maybe that's what this is for, or what's going on. I'm not really sure. I'm a little bit uneducated on the Bang Bang Gang being stripped of the trios titles situation. So if you want to educate me in the chat, feel free to do so. And that left us with our main event, Swerve Strickland versus Kazuchika Okada, champion versus champion. I don't think this was title for title. I don't think any championships were on the line, I don't believe. But I didn't really feel like, since we didn't end up getting the time limit draw, because one thing I did think about today before the show was like, okay, who goes over in these matches? I felt like Swerve and Okada definitely had to be a disqualification. Earlier in the day, I said, okay, Bucks are going to cause the DQ or something. You're not going to beat either one of these two guys right now, Swerve or Okada, on TV. But then when MJF and Ospreay started going past that 40-minute mark, I'm like, well, shit, we're going to get a Broadway in this and a disqualification in the main event. Is that what the fans will want? But then we wound up getting a finish out of Ospreay and MJF, which meant they could go on with probably their predictable plans here for this one, but they tied some extra stuff in since Jack Perry had that promo where he mentioned Darby Allin. So before this match, we got to the finish of this match, what I was expecting was a DQ, a Bucks run-in, a disqualification. Jack Perry would come out, and then Darby Allin would attack him. We got a lot more than that, but I had the general idea right. Now, the match was fine. Swerve and Okada was good, but they were only 3 or 4 minutes into the match when we got to the top of the hour. So clearly, we were going to get a pretty big overrun here. I don't know if anybody has the official number on that overrun. I want to say the show ended maybe 8 or 9 minutes past the hour. So it was a pretty good, decent overrun here for this main event. But as predicted, the Young Bucks did run in. They attacked Swerve Strickland. Bell rings. Okada's disqualified. And then everybody comes out. The Acclaimed come out. Jack Perry comes out. Mark Briscoe comes out. So when all this is happening, I'm writing down Darby makes the save in my notes, before Hangman even gets out there. So that's going to happen. So they all run out there. Brawl ensues. Swerve winds up standing tall. Everybody gets taken out. Swerve is in the ring by himself, and that's when Hangman Page comes out. So I guess he is officially on the Elite's team. He comes down to the ring. The brawl continues, and they're brawling all over the place. The Elite kind of find themselves all together going up the ramp, and I'm like, okay, Darby's music any minute. I'm expecting to hear his music and him to skateboard down there in his pink jacket. But he doesn't skateboard down there in his pink jacket. His music plays, and 1 week after the finals of the Owen Hart tournament, he descends from the rafters in a harness, basically solidifying himself as the final member of Team AEW. So I guess it's going to be Team Elite, the Bucks, Okada, Jack Perry, and Hangman against Swerve, Mark Briscoe, the Acclaimed, and Darby. Am I right about that? I've got that right? So that was the end of the show. I thought it was cool. I haven't looked at social media yet, but based on how the majority of the wrestling audience thinks these days, I can only assume there's going to be some people bitching about the descending from the rafters type of thing. Owen's death was 25 years ago. We already had this happen with Sting, and we heard that Tony Khan even ran it by Martha Hart to make sure she'd be okay with that, or if it made her uncomfortable or anything. She gave them her full blessing to do rafter shit. So they've done it. These are stunts that are done in concerts, and, how many times have Taylor Swift lowered from the ceiling? And, in Vegas acts and Cirque du Soleil's and all this stuff is done professionally. It's usually relatively safe. Owen had a really unfortunate situation happen to him. It's not something I want to see all the time because you just can't see that without thinking about Owen Hart. So even though I didn't have a problem with it, it's just hard to see any wrestler come down from the rafters without thinking about him. Unless you're 15 years old or 20 years old, or if you're under 30, then it's not gonna mean anything to you because you don't remember Owen at all. But other people do, and it's always going to be tough for me to watch that without thinking about him. But even as someone who has likely been watching Owen Hart wrestle and watching his career and watching him wrestle live in person before a lot of people complaining about this stunt were even born, I can tell you I'm not offended by it, but it's really hard to not think about it. It's just impossible. As a wrestling fan, the first thing that's going to pop in your mind anytime you see that done is going to be Owen Hart. Even if you're too young to remember him. You've learned about his situation by now. If you're 25 years old, you weren't even born, or you just were born when this happened to him, but you've learned since then. You've learned who Owen Hart was, and you heard and learned what happened to him. So it's probably hard for any fan to not think about that situation when we see that go down. But I didn't really care. It's fine. The timing of it, a little weird. I think the timing was weird last year too, wasn't it? Is that why they kind of asked Martha Hart about it? But I mean, Tony Khan, he's got balls. I wouldn't call them grapefruits. They're probably like little cuties, but they're there. And he'll bring some shit back and do some callbacks. He's not afraid to have his whole roster bleed in one night. He's not afraid to have women bleed. He's not afraid to curse on TV or lower people from the rafters, or just, get a little more gnarly. And it's hilarious to me that, the bad faith hating side of the audience and the community has such a big problem with that. When if you go on their timeline, or if you look in their disgusting, crusty, smelly, roach infested bedrooms, they probably got a ton of ECW merch and tapes and bullshit from those days. You want to talk about a mud show. That's what ECW was. Full on fucking mud show. Discount bingo hall bullshit. With blood and violence and barbed wires and toasters and VCRs and shopping carts, people just beating the shit out of themselves for no reason. A lot of these guys weren't athletes, Axl Rottens and Balls Mahoneys and, Sally Grazianos and whatnot. And these very same fans that pleasured themselves to that type of wrestling in those days are now all of a sudden offended by violence and some barbed wire. And AEW is doing it in a much more, professional setting. They're not being all sketch balls on the whole thing and running sketchy ass, shows with, paychecks being bounced and, and whatnot. And these guys going out there and killing themselves for nothing, that doesn't really, grow the audience or the fan base. It caters to, wait for it, a niche audience. AEW has a much broader audience than ECW ever did, but you ask any AEW hater, they probably worshiped ECW when they were around. Just doesn't add up, does not compute. I think when you decide you hate something, logic is out the window. So tonight's show I thought was good. It was fun. The opening match was tremendous, and they gave us a lot in that second hour. I mean, we got a couple of matches. We got Mariah May out there. We had some storyline stuff, more of blood and guts set up, and they accomplished a lot after we had that great match from Will Ospreay and MJF. So overall, Greg enjoyed the show tonight. I don't even know what I'd grade it because my brain is kind of an applesauce right now from my vacation. But I'd give tonight B+ at the very worst. I might be underselling it. I think that MJF, yeah, I am. Fuck that. I'm definitely underselling it. MJF and Ospreay alone, if that's all we saw, that's an A+ show. So I'm going to give it an A. Maybe not an A+, though. Just a solid A. But it was good, and I enjoyed it. And it's been a while since I've actually been able to sit on a Wednesday and watch a Dynamite from start to finish. Because normally I'm working, and so I'll catch the episodes, and I'll watch what I need to watch and the matches I need to watch. But sitting down and watching it from start to finish is something I haven't done in a few months. So it was pretty cool. Anyway, that's it for my little review here. Like I said, I'm just popping my head into YouTube tonight just to say hello. I'm back from vacation. I'm going to get myself reacclimated, and we'll be up here with a big podcast this weekend. But we probably won't have a very long episode tonight because I'm not prepared with much other than what we saw tonight on Dynamite. Anyway, let's go back to the chat here. I know we got some super chats to talk about and other stuff. Let's say hello to Michael Kumo, Zach Palgett, and Nick Musser. What's up, man? Good to see more channel members rolling in. I'm not sure if I shouted out the Lula twins yet. Prisha, I'm the best on the wrestling interwebs. Well, thank you, man. I don't even think I'm the best, but I'm up there. I ain't no Jay Brone, that's for sure. But I will admit there are others that do it better than me. I know, Daniel Clark. That's one thing. I mean, I go to Hawaii every couple of years, but I live in San Diego, so I'm like going to the prettiest state in the country and moving back and coming back to the second prettiest state in the country. So either way, I got it pretty good here. I got ocean views and palm trees all over me here, or all over my city here. But Hawaii is just a little bit extra nice. Now, if you live in where tonight's Dynamite was, if you're living in Little Rock, Arkansas, then Hawaii is going to look way, way nicer to you. But either way, Hawaii is impossible to not love. Oh, man, there you go, Barry. Let's do SummerSlam 2006. What was the main? Oh, man, that was Orton and Hogan, wasn't it? I don't want to do that. Well, maybe we have to. Wasn't that also like Foley and Flair? Did we not watch that one? I guess we haven't. That's a good one, Barry. I think if I'm up here the only reason I'm not posting a link yet is because there's a slight chance I might bump the Winged Eagle to Sunday because I'm a little bit worried about my time availability on Saturday. And I know I have a lot to catch up on. So I might move it to Sunday, skip a watch along this week, and do the podcast on Sunday instead so we can have a long one. I haven't figured it out yet. It just depends on what I learn at work tomorrow. But if we are here this Sunday, Barry, we'll do SummerSlam 2006. I kind of owe you for that anyway. So if not, we'll do it next week. But SummerSlam 06, sure. Let's do it. Let's do it. Ajax Johnson, good to see you, man. We got JT, Exotic Exchange in here as well. Yeah, Ospreay is pulling a Kenny Omega, losing great matches, but will rebound later. Of course, Ospreay is one of those guys. He's going to be wrestling a lot. Hard schedule. He can't win every match. And if he's not world champion right now, booking him the way I have zero issues with Will Ospreay's booking in AEW so far at all, even with the loss tonight. No issues at all. That is true. Another good point by JT. The ref did recover pretty quick. Y'all catch that? I mean, he was up. He was up almost like he was mad. So he had a lot of energy there at the end. And I think it was just the way they were executing that finish. Maybe that part of it could have been a little bit better. But I'd hate for a match to, lose points because of the ref, but that can happen sometimes. But if that's the biggest critique we have of the match, was it Paul Turner? Is that who the ref was tonight? The way he popped up so quick, then we're in pretty good. It's a pretty good problem to have. Yeah, and like Miles says, the Ospreay MJF match didn't feel like it was an hour. That's when you know those guys are good. When you're watching two guys wrestle in a wrestling ring for an hour and it feels like half that means you're enjoying yourself. Because time goes by fast when you're having a good time. The Juliet. I went and grabbed a drink and took a bathroom break once that segment started. I can only assume you are talking about the Learning Tree. Okay, thanks, Juliet. It was solidified last week once Swerve confirmed he would leave Team AEW in Blood and Guts. That's right, because Swerve and Hangman have the thing, so that is the motivation for Hangman to join the Elite. Hangman said he was in as far as Blood and Guts. Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that. And the Juliet has hooked up Brian Powers with a membership. She's making it rain as always with the memberships. Welcome to the family, Brian Powers. I got 2 members-only videos that did hit the channel this week. The members get to see Elizabeth. That's where I'm going to bring her on, is for member videos. We did a couple of watch-alongs last week. You guys enjoyed them. She will be back for more for the members because I got to give the members some sort of perk that everybody else doesn't get. So you guys get Elizabeth, Miss Elizabeth, here on the channel. Let me see. Yeah, Julia, the fans have pretty much turned Toni Storm babyface for a while. So she's felt like she's already been a face, even though it wasn't really addressed. And so I guess it wouldn't be a double turn. It would just be, Mariah May by default kind of turned face with her. And then now she's a heel. I don't know. I'm so bad at this. Don't ever ask me anything. Mike Witt, appreciate the $5 from you. And always good to see you. You're my super chat champ so far this year, I believe, if my numbers are correct. But thanks, dude. Welcome back, Greg. Hope you had a great vacation. MJF versus Ospreay was amazing. I think AEW might be back. I think MJF won to drop. Oh, yeah, Garcia. I forgot about Garcia. Okay, remember earlier all that shit I said about Will Ospreay and MJF, facing it all in? Never mind. It's probably going to be MJF and Daniel Garcia, but would they wait a little longer on that? That's going to be a month-long run for MJF then if they do that, or they could do it all out, or they could have Garcia chase it. That might be better. I'm not sure with Garcia just flat out winning it all in. Well, I could see that. That could happen. He'd have that whole crowd dancing. That would actually be pretty good. But I could almost see MJF escaping. Cheating. Pulling a, cheap-ass victory, winning again like that. And then that leads to maybe a rematch with the Stip and Daniel Garcia wins it there. But if Garcia wanted it all in, that's quite the crowd. And in this case, it wouldn't be like a Jericho putting him over. It would be, one of the top youngest, main eventers they have. And that's quite an endorsement, So, some of these old timers working with and putting over some of the younger stars, or at least attempting to, a lot of them haven't seen any, big benefits from that. But Daniel Garcia beating MJF would be huge for him. So you might be onto something there, Mike Witt. That's why I said my brain's not quite sharp. I'm not as tuned into all of the goings on, so I didn't pick up on that and totally forgot that MJF basically turned heel just a couple of weeks ago by beating the crap out of Daniel Garcia. Obviously, you're going to have to pay that off. Now that MJF is a champion, there you go. Sorry about not figuring that out earlier when I was talking. JT, does Toni Storm go back to her old self now? She might. I feel like the timeless stuff does have a little bit of a ceiling to it because it's really hard to be a babyface out for revenge with a gimmick like that. So if she's out there with what if they swapped gimmicks? What if Mariah May stole it and started being that way? And then Toni Storm was back out there with her old theme and the thing under her eye or whatever. I think would fans be into that? Her character, this timeless gimmick is so great. I wouldn't want to shed that. I don't feel like it's totally run its course, but it is going to be weird to see, or interesting, I should say, to see how she maybe evolves the character, into this jilted starlet into, maybe a more respected performer, an artist, an actress, who was disrespected and now has to show Mariah May who exactly she is, type of thing. That could maybe work. So I think there's a way to keep the gimmick throughout this, but going back to her old self is, I guess, a possibility. Yeah, shell shock. Swerve versus Okada had a DQ written all over it. You could see that shit coming from across the street. That's for sure. Yeah, and thankfully TNT, TBS aren't censor happy at every little non-PG thing. WWE can't get off Fox quick enough. The Fox was a great deal for them. It brought in, billions of dollars and whatnot, but shit, it hurts the show. Some of those segments have really suffered from the just overwhelming bleeps on Fox, which I rarely watch SmackDown on Fox here because on the West Coast, Fox doesn't air until the 8 p.m. time. Where on the USA Network, it plays Raw live, so it'll be 5 p.m. But for SmackDown, because it's network TV and they play all their other bullshit, it just comes on at 8 p.m. here on the West Coast. So I'm never able to check out SmackDown live. I have to check out SmackDown usually on YouTube or highlights, or, sometimes I DVR it and watch it on ×2 speed or whatever. But I can't wait for them to get off of Fox, go to the USA Network, and I'm really excited to see how Monday Night Raw is going to look on Netflix. We have to assume a couple of things here, that there's not going to be any commercials, and they can swear. Now, I don't know, if they have a guideline to their product content, if they're saying they're TV PG-13 or TV-14 or whatever they're considering themselves. Do you have to adhere to those guidelines? Like, for example, well, I guess, no, that's not a good example. Yeah, I guess that's not a good example. But on Netflix, there's just kind of no rules over there. You know, I'm watching Shameless right now. That's on Netflix. Debbie, 13 years old, just date raped a 20-year-old man. That's a new one. Haven't seen that situation come down on a TV show before. So anything goes on Netflix. So I'm really curious how Raw is going to look. I mean, are they going to go through big changes? Are they going to change up the set? How are they going to present the show since they have all of this, perceived freedom now? It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see it. And the fact that on TNT and TBS, we see the word shit said a lot and they don't go crazy with the bleeps is also pretty cool. So wrestling is starting to get cool again, guys. It's happening. Let's see. CJ Perry and Ric Flair not with AEW. Yeah, I kind of came across that. I'll know more about that this weekend. Max Pokebear. Yeah, cool. AEW rocks and all that, I guess. Oh, God. What problem did you have with the show? You probably had some issue with it. Let me see. Mike Witt, 5 more from you, dude. You doing a live stream for SummerSlam? Hell yeah. The pop Roman, Jimmy, and Heyman are going to get is going to be generational. Yeah, everything's generational, isn't it, these days? Yeah, I'm going to do a live stream for sure. We're going to do a full-blown ass watch-along SummerSlam coming up in just a few weeks. SummerSlam in Cleveland. And we'll be up here for a full watch-along that day. We'll stick around for a review, all that jazz. It'll be pretty fun. But anyway, I want to thank the small handful of you that hung out with me tonight. Welcomed me back from vacation. I just wanted to get up here and at least say hello because there's a chance I'm not up here again until Sunday if I have a really crazy next couple of days at work once I get back into that. So unfortunately, I wasn't totally sure how the weekend was going to shake out for me just because I've been gone for so long. So I'm trying to figure out that right now. And since I owe you guys a ton of comments already on the wrestling news and all the other stuff going on, I was like, well, maybe I can at least turn on the camera tonight, say hello after Dynamite, talk to you guys a little bit just to get back into the swing of things, and then we'll be back at it this weekend. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Do me a big favor too. Hit the like button on the way out the door if you don't mind. And we will be here this weekend to talk about a lot. We're going to be here for either a podcast or a podcast and a watch along. I'm just not sure yet, so stay tuned. Thanks again for watching. Have a good rest of your night. And I will be catching you guys, I guess, in just a couple